Hello everybody, всем привет. Today I am working on making this path functional in the game so that the hero moves around, we see the path. You know, this was one of the iconic elements of this strategy game. I still love seeing that. And anyway, where I think I want to start with my prompt here. I fed in most of my game files. I fed in a few of these images of the cursors because currently in my alpha version here, I have been just using the keyboard numeric pad to move the hero, and then the arrow keys on the keyboard to move the minimap around. And so I think it's time now to add in mouse logic, mouse cursors, things like this. So I wrote a definition here of what the first uh, 10 mouse cursors are, and then if you see actually 10 through uh, 20 and 20 through 30, they're basically just how many more extra days it's going to take for you to get somewhere. And I didn't actually look at the ship stuff, but it's probably the same. So functionally, I really just need these first 10. I can add in the other stuff later when doing some, like, that's just a more advanced functionality. I don't even have ships yet. You know, there's I don't want to get ahead of myself. So I just copied the first, or I basically just instructed it to use the first 10 different types of cursors. And these are the route tiles is what I'm calling them. And this is, so what I actually did for this is I took these route tiles and I wrote up a definition for it, trying to explain exactly what's going on. So you'll see here, like 0 through 4 are just like the north, east, south, and northeast, southeast tiles. And I also indicated that if those are mirrored, that, you know, just for clarity, just for the AI to make sure it doesn't do something stupid, I really spelled it out. And then each of these tiles, like 5, for example, this is if the movement suggested for the next two tiles, for this move and the next move, is like northeast and then north, that uses this tile. Similarly, 006 is east and then northeast, that suggests this tile. So I learned this from doing the fog of war exercise, that actually it's pretty smart if you give the AI some logic to, you know, when to use which tile. It actually does a pretty good job. So I put that in there, and then I gave it a few example images of what, you know, what it looks like if these routes are computed, and just threw a few of those in. I thought there was one more, but guess not. Anyway, so I said yes. I always give it this high level thing. I'm working on rebuilding the game engine for Heroes of Might and Magic 1. I have this basic level. I want to add some features. Currently, I'm using the keyboard to move around, and then I also added this. I want to use the mouse to move the minimap viewport finder in the upper right of the screen. I want to use the mouse and be able to click around. So up here, like if I click here with, you know, I basically wanted this functionality. I want to be able to do this. And then the viewport finder should center on the location of the player's first hero in the map initially, which I wasn't doing. It was always starting at 0, 0 in the map in the upper left corner. And so I was like, it's time to just get that working. And then clicking on the viewport finder in the minimap moves the mouse to the center of the viewport finder. You know, that's the functionality here. And you know, before I was starting like up here, I think was the location it was starting, and now I want it to start centered on where the hero is located. And then also let's see, and then when the left mouse button is depressed, the minimap viewport finder can be moved around the map. This is faster than moving with the keyboard or arrow keys. So again, you can drag this around. I didn't use the word drag. I probably should have, but it's probably going to figure out what I mean. Then the mouse cursor sprites are located in this file adv mice, which is this thing here. And I included the spec, which tells you the size again, not assuming everything's 32 by 32, but everything has a slightly different size. Sometimes there's an offset. I don't really see any offsets in these images, but sometimes there can be. And then this is where I then define what those first 10 0000 through 0009 I describe what each of these icons does. You know, we have this is just your general cursor. This is like the hourglass for when you're waiting on another hero's turn. This is when you're over your hero and you want to like bring up the hero status screen. This is over your castle if you want to bring up either open the castle. Yeah, I think it would actually just open the castle. That's right. This is like a general movement tile, like just moving somewhere. This is a battle if it's a random creature or if it's another hero. This would allow you to enter a ship. If you're in a ship, this would allow you to land the ship. This would allow your hero to exchange creatures, artifacts, things like that with another hero. And this basically shows up on an event tile. So let me show you what that looks like. So if I was going to trigger this event by going to the mine and flagging it, it's already flagged, but it would still trigger an event and say it's already flagged. This would trigger an event basically visiting the obelisk. This would trigger an event at the peasant hut. This would trigger an event here at the fairy ring. Entering the windmill, entering the castle is an event. See here, we're hovering over this guy, hovering over the castle. If we hover over an opponent's castle, nothing. Opponent, nothing. Maybe it's because we can't actually access these yet, because they're behind these things. This would be to fight the sprites, to fight the dwarves, and we could potentially pick up the astrolabe or astrolabe, however you pronounce that. I think it's astrolabe. I should look that up. But anyway, so this is the definition of what those cursor elements are, and then hovering over any part of a tile will cause the effect of that tile to change the default cursor. So if we're anywhere near these the tile that would cause us to fight the dwarves, which is actually the tiles in front of it, then it changes to the sword. Here, if we're anywhere on, or maybe actually, it's actually probably like half. It's probably like the majority of the cursor tile is over that. I said anywhere, so I may have to change that, but that's a minor difference. Yeah, it's actually like the majority of the tiles, you see. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so a slight misdefinition here in the spec, but let's see how it works. And then I also forgot to allocate memory for movement points for a hero. I just said, hey, let's give the hero 100 movement points a day, and that number is going to get topped up every day. And when the hero is selected, then I want to generate a function that both computes a possible movement path with route markers and displays the path like shown in the images. Again, these images up here. So each movement costs 10 points. I don't actually know what the math is of the game. I can probably reverse engineer it later, but I just want some kind of placeholder logic. And then the movement path route marker sprites that a hero can afford with their movement points are shown green, and any that are outside of their movement range are red. For example, as shown in, and I think I forgot to include the image, but it doesn't matter. The hero has 70 movement points remaining. If they select a movement tile 13 tiles away, the first 7 route markers will appear green, and the last 6 route markers will appear red. The path movement route marker sprites are stored in the route, and that's the route folder where these, that's basically the name of the tile mapping file that contains these images that I decoded in the AGG file. And I have included the spec as well and an image of the sprites available. And here's the description below with just a little more information. They can be over traversable squares. Neighboring squares that are neighboring diagonally can be traversed diagonally. And there's this whole list here, like pretty exhaustive. So can we create a route marker function to generate the path, add it to the rendering engine? Double clicking the left mouse button on an X will start the hero moving to that location along the path. I think this is enough information. Let me know if you need more context or information. So the AI says, okay, reading the files. All right, we're gonna create a pathfinding route.h file that does pathfinding plus route marker sprite selection. And then we're going to do some cursor state management in mouse.h and then update the game main CPP with all the new features. So it created the route pathfinding and cursor state management. That took a little bit of time, but then it really did spend a lot of time crunching on the game main file. So it created find route, route markers, hero max movement points 100. I kind of grimace a little bit when I see that because that's not the max hero points. That's just kind of the initial basic level. So I'm going to have to correct that later. Cursor ID, it just named created the first 9, put it in cursor manager, and minimap drag state. I didn't use the word drag, but it inferred correctly that it is literally the drag. This is, in English, this is called dragging. Drag and drop is the Microsoft nomenclature that was created, although maybe Microsoft stole it from Apple. I'm not sure. But anyway, back here, then the game main loads the route ICN and advanced mice ICN files, loads the first 10 advanced mice frames into memory and registers them as hardware cursors. We set up the initial scroll here, so we are centered on player 0 at startup, and the minimap viewport finder follows this. Initializes the hero's movement points to 100. Then it includes in the route rendering on pass 2, that's where it does the green markers or red markers for the hero movement. Double clicking to walk, so double clicking starts the hero moving in a direction, and then minimap drag implements this functionality here. Let's go back here. We lost the sound there, and then also a context sensitive cursor that adjusts. So it implements these, and I downloaded those files and I built it. And I want to show you, so on the right side here, this is actually what's happening. So it's kind of working. It's recomputing this really fast and I like it, but it's doing this as hover. So it's not clicking. It does move the hero when I double click, but it's hovering. And I still don't have collision detection on perfectly, and it's actually still it's still moving the hero despite, so it's not actually stopping the hero from moving with movement points. And you see there's a little bit of imperfections here with the way that these routes are being demonstrated here. So there's you can see here, I can't move the mouse because of the hover, but you see that the next tile is diagonal, and he's actually going to, this barbarian is going to be moving west. So that's not quite right. And then the next tile up it should actually be mirrored. So I think maybe the mirroring isn't quite working right. So it needs a little bit of work, but it's at a base level, it's functional, and needs to have the hero checking, but I got it to kind of this funny state, and I wanted to And then see here in the minimap, I can actually move this around as well now. So this is actually functional, but we can't see the cursor again because it's sort of defaulting to this hover state. So back over here in the AI, I actually did this. I said, okay, that's pretty good for a first attempt, minor fix. Route's only supposed to be created if you click once. The initial state should be just the mouse cursor 0000, and then clicking once on a tile that's traversable should create a route and display that route. This should only apply to visible tiles inside the fog of war visible radius, and if a user clicks on the fog of war area, it should not do anything. Because I didn't specify that, and I already ran 101495 to see, you know, kind of what the functionality was on that. But I'm going to download this and save it to game main. So we're going to just overwrite that, and we're going to close Alt F for that. So we're going to do a quick rebuild. See how it builds. All right, so the game is compiled. And go into our build folder and run Here's a Might&magic 1. Okay. Okay, so now I don't see the cursor at all, but I can click around here. If I go down here, yeah, so the cursor is invisible right now. So it's kind of working, but again, the basic cursor is not being rendered. So let's do one more iteration on this. This is improved, but the basic cursor 0000 is the hover path from the previous, so the hover path generation bug from the previous iteration has been fixed, but the cursor 0000 is not being rendered at all by the main engine. Is this an SDL problem? I don't know, I'm just guessing on the SDL thing. All right, so it's working a little bit here, fixing mouse H. And let's, what we will do here is exit this program, and we're going to download these new updates. So let's update mouse H. Yes. And download game main. Okay, we have downloaded that. And let's do a quick build. So delete the old, generate the new make files, and do the new build, multi-threaded parallel build processing. Okay. Running the new program. Oh, hey, look at that. We got the mouse, sort of. Okay, I have a thing going in Windows where my mouse is like giant, so I should probably turn that off. So the Windows default engine is doing something here. So we're just going to keep going even though our path is red. And I notice that it's not rendering the tile right next to the hero, which is interesting also. Let's drag this down. Let's do a little run in this big open water field here. So yeah, sometimes it's not quite rendering next to the hero, but sometimes it actually renders a pretty nice path. Okay, this is a little weird, right? There should probably be something that smooths out this logic, and it's probably more like a 3-tile smoothing here. But yeah, it's coming along. That's how we added in cursor. Well, basic cursors, basic mouse usability, so we can start to click on things, and then basic hero movement. So I have some bugs here with how the routes are displaying. It looks like some of these aren't mirroring correctly as well. Like this this arrow here is not mirrored correctly. We obviously have collision detection issues. We have hero movement point issues that the hero should not be able to move. But I haven't implemented turns yet, so it shouldn't. Well, it's a little too early to do that, but anyway, it was just a nice implementation here of the initial route mapping, and I think it went a little smoother than I was expecting it to. But I think part of the reason that it went smoother is that I learned to specify some logic. I gave it some basic logic ahead of time. And I think if I would have done that with the fog of war in the video that I created yesterday, if I'd created that, or if I had provided more logic initially, I think the AI would have done it in 1 or 2 shots instead of the numerous iterations I tried to run to fix it piecemeal. And this one might need a couple more shots, and I think just providing some better logic or providing an update of this logic statement once I figure it out will make this work better. But I do like that the tile definition, if there's something that's going to activate the tile, it's showing this. Okay, it's not showing it on the artifact actually, but it shows it on the treasure chest. It's not showing it on, well, maybe it is showing it on I can't really tell where my mouse is because my mouse is like 9 times the size of what it should be. But anyway, I'll pause there and do some more work on some other projects. But that's all for now. So coming back to this, I've made a few positive changes to the routing logic, and where we left off. Basically was I had given it this information, and it had created a basic routing function that started to work. I was running into some errors with the cursor. I was starting to see, like right now you can see, so I went into Windows and just shrunk my cursor down to like a normal size, and now it works. We're not seeing the weird oversized cursor. That these tiles over the castle, we get the castle icon. We get the castle entrance tile here, potentially. We get there's going to be an activity on the treasure chest, on the fairy ring, on the windmill, on the sawmill, the peasant's hut. this. So all of this is registering correctly as the right type of tile when I hover over it. Let's do a little bit of movement here. We can just see some different movement types. The routing is actually going pretty well. We still don't have collision detection for certain activities. So there's, you know, there's a few strange things where it still kind of does these weird angled routes, but then it defaults back to kind of a shorter route. And I'll show you how I got there. So right now, here's a good example where it still does this slightly longer route there. But we have improved it somewhat in that we're not getting these strange rotations of the final arrow before the X. So that was one bug. We were also seeing this gap below the hero where this route arrow was not being located. So those were the initial bugs where we left off. I also I attempted to do something where when the cursor tile is over a chunk of some tile that will have an activity on it, that this would display the horse lifting its legs up tile. And I decided to roll that back, and then I've kind of gone back and forth. That's more of a stylistic thing, and well, I'll worry about that later. Right now it's functioning reasonably well as is. So anyway, I called out the bugs, and I expressed the mirroring issue. It goes through, it did something with the cursor. It detected the mirroring issue. And this off by one hero row, I basically had to go back and forth with the AI several times on this off by one hero row. So I'm arguing with it, and it says, oh no, we did the +1 previously for DOS maps, but not Windows 95 maps. And what I end up pointing out to the computer is that something is being miscalculated. And I finally realized that why don't I give it the spec.xml of the hero sprites? And these heroes, these tiles in the game are 32 by 32 pixel tiles. The hero is actually larger than 32 pixels. It's taller than 32 pixels. And it's actually only like 21 pixels wide, it looks like. So these are offset in the Y distance by 47, 48, 49, 45 to 49 pixels offset, and they're 49 to 53 pixels tall. So there's just a few pixels that are leaking up into the next thing. It's probably like this flag and the flagpole, whatever. But I'm just calling out and saying, hey, just in case it's in the BMP or the image, I threw those in for context. And I said, also, I would like to move the hero and have the sprite remain in the same direction that it was traveling when the hero stops moving. And that was not being done previously. Previously, my hero would always revert back to this sideways state of some sort. And so anyway, the AI goes on and generates some things for me. It does get these final resting frame sprites correct that I had specified here specifically. And I included the mirrored states specifically because the AI sometimes, well, like you see with this arrow up here, sometimes the AI just messes up. It doesn't quite get the mirroring right. So it really does help if you specify the mirrored states as well. So it just gives it a better chance of getting that right in one shot. So it does the static idle draw, and so it draws the sprite correctly in the last state that the hero was moving, and we can see that happening here. And I'm still arguing with AI though about this one tile offset with the hero. The hero would spawn here in the center of the castle, and I keep pointing out, like, hey, there's something going on with the offsets here. And I even called it out. It starts to kind of get it here and says, yep, there's this base Y level plus the tile height. And that kind of offsets it, but I've reverted to the CS row +1. My previous change to CS row without the +1 was wrong. And I just ask it again. I'm like, are you sure about that? Because if you're making this change, doesn't that make the CS row +1 redundant? You know, like it actually makes the CS row correct. So the CS is like the castle spawn, I guess. Then the AI is very sycophantic and is like, yes, exactly right. And then it fixes it here, and you know, gives me a version that actually does this correctly. So I tested it, it worked. I'm like, why don't you update the game memory so I can use that for future reference? Then I started playing around with it some more, and I started to see some weird behavior. Like this was my route. This should actually just go straight across and up. You know, this is correct behavior here. Sorry, this is not correct behavior here. The correct behavior would be something like this. If we just move our hero down, and let's say we wanted to go, well, over to like this point, that would be better behavior, more accurate behavior than something like we're seeing here, where this is shooting all over. And I showed another example, just really simple. This should just go straight across and then up, like that. It shouldn't be doing this weird function here. Maybe we can get that to repeat. But see it, yeah, it should go straight across instead of like zigzagging left and right. So I was like, maybe we should be calculating this over a 3x3 grid for some smarter logic. Why is it zigzagging? And it comes up with a pretty smart answer. There's this Chebyshev distance, which basically diagonal paths are going to be you're going to cover slightly more distance when you take a diagonal path versus just a straight. Like this is not as far of a move as this, so the diagonal move gets like mathematically is considered a better value. So it says, why don't we add a little tie-breaking secondary cost, just like 0.001. If we drop this, if we add just a tiny penalty, that's going to make these costs compute a little better. And so previously it was using the Dijkstra algorithm, and now we're adding a Chebyshev distance as the heuristic that gives us just a slightly better computation. And when we have these straight lines where we don't use the tie breaking, so we just add a tiny, or the bug was that we weren't tie breaking for straight lines. So by adding a slight turn penalty, we reduce the number of curves that we're seeing, and it straightens out these lines quite a bit. You know, in this case, you need 1,000 consecutive turns to equal 1 extra step. So it basically, just that tiny adjustment makes it much more likely that we're going to get these straight line paths. And cardinals are listed before diagonals. So basically the priority, we also give slight priority to cardinal directions, with, you know, being like north, south, east, west versus northwest, southwest, southeast, things like that. When I downloaded their route, put it in, compiled it, it broke everything completely. I was like, now I can only select a single X next to my hero, so I could only do this, and it wouldn't do anything. So I was like, just take another look. Find some bug where it made a mistake. It had put the inequality backwards. So I found that, and it fixed. So there was an inversion here, and maybe the cost function was also inverted, it looks like. So it fixed those, put it in. The routing was working pretty well. And then I did something here where I'm just going to restart now. And let's see, we are in the build folder. Let's rerun the build. This over. So I also made it so we can't walk on water anymore. So I added a block. I said the hero sprite will change to that of a ship, and then we would be able to route on water. But for now, I want the hero to be blocked off from the router. So it looked at my map format, it looked at the ground levels, and kind of came up with something basic to just prevent in the just a water tile check to prevent the hero from being able to walk on the water. I think this is going to cause a little bit of an issue later when the hero, there has to be a ship here. You go there, the game changes the hero to a ship on that tile, and then you can suddenly route on water and not on land, and you have to use the anchor icon to connect to land. But it basically makes the changes that block us from walking on water. And that was fun while it lasted, but it's time to move on. And shipboarding, on water routing, and using the boat 32 icon sprite swaps, and the boat 32 sprites for moving the ship around on water. That's all future work. And I then called out once more. I was still getting this reflection bug in both directions, and said, hey, can you look at that? Like, it's these are the arrows that are not being reflected, and I bet it's also these arrows on 19 and 24, which are basically these same arrows, but in green. And it says, yep, there's definitely a mistake there. Here's what it is. Fixed the flip for me, gave me the new version. I tested it. That's the version we're using right now. We're still getting a little... There's still a little weird... occasionally you see a weird route. So it's not perfect, but it's much, much better than it was. And so I asked it to just update the documentation. So we had a mirror rule. We added a little, just tiny penalty to pathfinding to straighten out a lot of those routes. And there's still it can probably still be improved a little bit. We blocked off the water tiles and made a note about ship movement for future work. So that's just a quick update on where we're at. And next we'll probably start, I think we're about ready to start interacting with these tiles. So I currently can't actually select. I can walk over certain heroes, but I can't select objects, and I can't. So certain tiles I can go without triggering the event, and other tiles are actually blocked for me. So I have to start to specify which tiles are going to create an interaction, and also just verify that the actual blocking is working, because I definitely can't walk on this tree tile here. I should be able to interact with the monsters here, and this gives me a sword icon, so I would have to fight these guys, but this doesn't. This also does. So I think I need to expand the creature. Probably the definition of the mouse needs to be a battle, it needs to be a sword here on these adjacent tiles to the creature. And just another weird observation is I have to click when my hero has movement, when it's green, I can double click and the hero will move the full length of the green. After it's red, I have to click for each little step in that direction. And I might want to change it so we get an auto scrolling as well, because I'm noticing I need to do that. I have to like manually scroll the map when I move. So I'll look into adding some auto scrolling, and I think next session we're gonna probably work on interacting with some of these tiles and getting some things to come up, which I've already been saving some screens just to give you a preview of what's going to appear. I've been saving some of these interaction screens which I want to start appearing, and that's what we're going to do next time.